See that Frank the Tank, Aunt Sandy Skinks, Corridora are already here. Somebody else is here too, but I don't see a name yet. Oh, it looks like they changed the interface a little bit. That's confusing. They do that a lot. There's Yotaro as well. Great. Can you hear me? Always want to make sure the microphone's working before we go too far. You can see that this is crazily overgrown, and part of what I'm going to do today is clip back this wild plant. I like it, but it grows like a weed, so I'm starting to think of it as one. Okay, so Frank, Yotaro, and Corey Dora just let me know that you can indeed hear me. Great. That is fantastic. So, today's going to be a little short. There are various people in the household that don't feel all that great today, and I'm among them. So, I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter today. Probably just do a half an hour. I see Chet is here as well, Laura Taylor. Great. Good to see you here, everyone. Just going to start clipping this stuff back. I really wish I knew the name of this plant, but I do not. Alas, no one has been able to tell me what it is. Interestingly though, someone on, maybe it was the last frog stream we did, someone told me what another one of the plants in here was that I didn't know. So now I know. It's Pilea minima, the artillery plant. And I've got a couple of little patches of it growing here. So that's fun. Now I know what I'm dealing with. Always preferable. Let's see, just checking the chat here. There's Ruben. Ruben, hello. Welcome back. And there's Wayne Abides too. Joseph Tavir is here. Nice. How's everybody doing? Oh, I really let this go this time. It's probably been at least a month since I've clipped it back, and it grows like crazy. So you can see me. It almost reminds me of a bamboo forest when there's so much of it like this on a small scale, right? It's probably not great for the Neoregelia bromeliads to be in so much shade. So I need to keep cutting it back. I see Cindy's Bella's Buggy Bags. Is that how you say that? Welcome. And thank you everyone for the well wishes. We appreciate it. I hope we do get better. Whatever has been going on lately has not been fun. I don't know. Last week I was supposed to put out a short, as I usually do on Tuesdays when I'm not doing a live stream, and I just didn't have it in me. I was not feeling up to it, so there was no short for that week. But this time I'm going to keep it short, but I'm going to make sure at least we have a live stream. You got to keep them going, right? Okay. This is just, I think this is grass. I don't know. It just looks like grass. That's probably what that is. So I don't need that in here. No need to allow that to proliferate. Wow. It has really long roots in some spots, doesn't it? It's really going everywhere. And I've tried to ID this plant online too, and I can't figure it out. Let's see, Wayne Abides, my Dilatatus crashed out on me. Little guys were only with me for like 4 or 5 days, no idea what I did wrong, but hopefully try again with a larger stock. Oh no, sorry to hear that. That's not normal with that species. Dilatatus are usually pretty tough too. I wonder what happened. I guess you said you don't know what was the causative agent behind their demise. So I won't ask you to elaborate too much on that because you probably already thought it over, and if you don't know, I'm not sure what I can tell you. So hopefully I'm not in the way too much. I'm going to try to clip some of this grass back here because sometimes I let something sprout just to figure out what it is, you know. But having grass in there is not exciting to me. Let's see. I'm getting close here. There is so much of that stuff. Look at that. I haven't even cut it all back yet. I'm going to move some of it over here. I don't want to eliminate it entirely, at least not yet. I'm still deciding what I want to do with it, but it's got kind of a fun effect if I don't let it go too crazy. Maybe something like that, I don't know. We'll see. Let's see, Max Cantrell is here. M. Plater. Show us the shirt. Oh yeah, my hoodie. This is my hoodie from, why can't I think? From Shapes in Nature. Check out the back here. I'll let you get a good look at it. Hopefully you can see everything now. Did that work? Is everybody able to see it? Let's see. No moths in the moth trap last night. Didn't expect it to be a frosty night. Huh? You must live somewhere much warmer than where I live. I need to wipe down the glass now that I've gotten some of that stuff out. There's a bunch of gunk on the glass. Let's see. Well, Wayne Beaties, that actually sounds like a pretty good setup. So Yotaro, yeah, crested geckos. We've got a couple of those. We have one, in fact, that has produced offspring. Just they're parthenotes. She has produced 3 offspring over the years. We've had her about, I want to say, close to 10 years, and she has produced 3 parthenotes. One of which we still have. One of which we adopted out to one of our kids' friends, and then let's see. I'm getting some fruit flies ready for the frogs here, and the morning geckos that live in here too. And then one that sadly didn't make it. It wasn't very robust, that one. The other 2 had some developmental issues, probably from being parthenotes, but did not have any that prevented them from living very well. But the other one wasn't capable of shedding on its own, and we did what we could, but it didn't quite work. So anyway, it's fun. Oh, and Yotaro, it is hard to tell sometimes when they're eating when they're really little. Usually they do pretty well though. Let's see. Max Cantrell found a single remaining clugai in what I thought was a dead colony. I accidentally made substrate too damp before realizing the natural range. Hoping to get more soon. Oh yeah. Yeah, they don't like getting over moist. They like their moist area, but they don't like getting over moist, that's for sure. You know what? I need a few more paper towels. I'll be right back. Okay. You know that the lighting in here is not doing me any favors. I feel like we're getting a lot of like light pollution that's making the glass harder to see through in here. It's kind of, that gets weird. Okay, so Cindy's Bella's Buggy Bags, if I'm saying that right. Generally, there's a couple of things you can look at when the isopods, the isopod substrate needs changing. If it looks like there are a bunch of little roughly rectangular particles on the surface, that is isopod frass. or Isopod waste, and it means they've processed a good deal of the original substrate. And it's probably time to either refresh by putting some more edible stuff on top, or just replace the substrate. And I don't typically replace the substrate all at once, but maybe replace half of it, something like that. That usually means that's a good idea to start doing that. You can also tell if there's a reduction in like springtails. If the springtails are starting to get scarce, that's another good sign that it's time to switch out some of the substrate. Or at the very least, add some leaf litter on top. Recently released a video, the Porcelio laevis feeding video I did. I guess that was last week. That one really needed the substrate to be changed or at least refreshed. And though I plan on doing replacement of the substrate soon, for the time being I just went in with a bunch of leaf litter and some rotted wood and put it on top, which is okay for now, but I'll need to take care of that pretty soon. Okay, so now we're going to do a little tour in here and see how things are looking. So I'm going to take this off of the tripod for the time being. You can get a look. It looks very different from inside. You can see some Ficus quercifolia, the oak leaf fig. Love this plant. There's a whole bunch of it growing in here in various spots. Here is the Pilea minima, I think it is, the artillery plant. A couple of bromeliads. This is a pup from that bromeliad, which I cut and put in the back so it can do its own thing. And it is indeed inflator. This is Ficus quercifolia. This is Neoregelia redbird, Neoregelia gremlin. This is a pup. The plant's in the way. The other plant's in the way. The one closer to the bottom of the screen is a pup, and the other one is a parent. There's a little tiny one there, and here's some Chiquita Linda. This is Neoregelia Chiquita Linda. Here's some live sphagnum moss that's doing really well. A little bit of rabbit's foot fern there. Some Java fern. More Ficus quercifolia, love that stuff. Some more moss. There's some Christmas moss growing up there, which the Pilea is trying to overtake, and some Java moss in there as well. And then this unknown plant that I was just cutting back. I don't know what that is. And some more Java fern. I think it's doing better over here in this corner where it's a little darker. It's hard to see than it is in the corner where it's more well lit. It is a plant that often does well in pretty low light. I've grown it in aquaria quite a bit, and it can thrive in an aquarium with very moderate to low light. Often does really well like that, so I'm not too surprised. Just 1 second here while I adjust the camera again. Putting it back on the tripod. Let's get some more light on this. Let's see, get some more light on here. In a minute I'm going to feed the frogs, but for the moment, put their other light back on so we can see a little bit better in there what that looks like. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. This guy is here. Max Cantrell had a minor crash in Oacellus colony. Managed to salvage in time. They had unexpectedly dried out due to my family putting the heating up. Yeah, they really do like their moisture, and they'll dry out pretty fast, it's true. Let's look at this little patch. I love the contrast right here between the live sphagnum moss in the top rightish corner and then the Ficus quercifolia, darker color. Pretty cool. So Wayne Abides, congrats on the Porcelio laevis chameleon enclosure. Semi-cohabitating with a decent-sized spotted roach. Oh, that's cool. The growing style of the mystery plant reminds me of Persicaria or Tretescantia. Yeah, Terratus kenti I can totally see. I'm not too familiar with Persicaria myself. I don't disagree with you, I'm not familiar. I better look it up and see what that is. Huh. I'll see if I can look into that a little bit more. That would be interesting to know. So let's see. So the sphagnum moss, I've had sphagnum moss in here for a long time, but this is the first time that it's really started to look this good. It's kind of fun. I like it too, even though it's not really the greenest of the greens. It's more of like a, I don't know, what would you call that color? It's pretty, whatever it is. So thank you, I appreciate that. Planning on, okay. So thank you, Frank, for taking care of the spam. I didn't see what the spam was, but I see that you took care of it, so. Planning to set up a project to try to go lichen indoors. That would be really interesting. I'd love to hear about that, Max. You got to tell me how that goes. Okay, I'm going to start adjusting over here in this spot for feeding. Going to move everything a little bit closer. Sorry, adjusting. Hope nobody's dizzy. After that, and I'm going to dump some flies in, some dusted flies. So let's see. This guy got 13 magic potions. Can't wait to see more color. Cool. Which line of magic potions did you get? And these days, actually, I should ask which species, because there's more than one species that is referred to as magic potions these days. But either way, it should be fun stuff. Let's see. Peachman, do you make a care guide Google sheet or anything like that beyond the videos? I wrote a really old book that I don't necessarily recommend as an up-to-date care guide, because while the advice in there worked for me for years, I think there have been improvements in the hobby these days. So even though I followed what I wrote in that book and had a lot of success with it, I think I've improved things since then. So I don't necessarily recommend that. Trying to think if I have anything else anywhere else. I think that's mostly it, the book and my videos. Max Cantrell, true, I could. Maybe I should take some of that out if it grows too big, and I could start growing my Drosera capensis in there. Here come the froggies. First froggies down. Which one is that? That is the male, coming out of a little cave on the right there. So Peachman got magic potion A depressum. Cool. I haven't kept that species, but I think I've heard of the magic potion morph that has been produced in it. Let's see. Peachman, yeah, people can be pretty harsh about the right way of doing things, and I think one thing to think about is that there are so many possible right ways to raise isopods. There are things that don't work, but there are so many things that do, and so many different preferred methods. Some people use sphagnum moss as a hydration station. Some people just moisten their substrate in a particular area. Some people like to use cork bark hides. Some people like to use different kinds of hides. The different mixes of leaf litter. There's so many different ways. The ventilation style. There's so many different things. And thank you, Inflator, for coming in, and thank you, I appreciate that. Hope we all get to feeling better soon, too. Okay, so this guy, not sure which line yet. And even when they do grow up, it might be a little bit difficult to tell which line. The Japanese line, of course, doesn't have as much yellow as the American line, but there's also some mixes out there, and so that can be tricky. But whatever you have, they'll still be cool isopods. If they're not listed, if they weren't sold as a specific line, there's a pretty good chance they're mixed. But it doesn't mean they are. It just means basically it will be hard to tell. If they get really big and they grow really slowly and there's a lot of yellow, there's probably more American stock in them. And thank you, Laura Taylor. I appreciate that. That's a good tip. Just watch a whole bunch of the videos on autoplay while you're working. Or I guess you'd be listening to them, but yeah. And Frank the Tank, that is a good question. I think one thing that Kyle Candelian explained, and I don't see, where are all the rest of the frogs? What's going on? They're usually all super excited about eating, and the geckos too. Everybody's hiding. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll come out. I think that as Kyle said, people got confused because the Dalmatian mutation, which causes the white body with a few dark spots on it, like the Porcellus scaber Dalmatian, that same genetic phenomenon that causes also magic potions in the sense that it causes them to be white-bodied with small dark spots. That mutation is the Dalmatian mutation, and people confuse that Dalmatian mutation with magic potion because they have that mutation, but what makes magic potions is really the selective breeding for the increased yellow. But along the way, people got confused about that, and they're like, oh, these have the Dalmatian mutation, so we'll call them magic potions because Armadillidium vulgare started that way. That's how magic potions started with Armadillidium vulgare. I think that's why. And I don't know that I'm super excited about that. It would be nicer if they just called them Dalmatian, like Armadillidium depressum Dalmatian, or what's another one that's shown up lately? Armadillidium granulatum Dalmatian. See, that makes more sense. That would be great if they would do that, but that's not what's happening. Probably because magic potions sounds cooler. So and I like that, and Sandy Skinks, yes. Part of the fun is doing things your way within the acceptable ways to keep the isopods. Yeah, I love that. So Waynabetes, as far as I have heard, dairy cows still haven't been reclassified. But I may have missed something. I haven't heard yet if they've been reclassified. We know they're not true Lavis, but Af Lavis is still valid as far as I know. So bruised bug. Well, the isopod hobby is interesting now. It's different than it was a few years ago. I would say it may have reached the point where it's not, we're not getting as many new species in as we did for a while. We're still getting, occasionally we'll get a new species in, but it's not as much as we used to get. I still think the hobby has more people in it overall than it did a few years ago. It's still growing that way. But as far as new stock coming in, I think it's slowed down a little bit. Why are the frogs being so secretive? Wow, that's crazy today. So does that make sense? I hope you see what I mean, Waynabetes. I mean bruised bug, sorry. Will springtails not survive with a lot of isopod frost around it as other nutrients are gone? Minyasa, great question. I think it mostly has to do with the fact that once isopods have gotten to the point where there's a ton of frass in there, there's probably not a whole lot of, the nutrients available to the springtails are not as abundant, typically. And that can vary with different setups and what's going on and what you're feeding and all kinds of stuff, so it can vary. But in general, I find that in an older culture, springtails start to decline if substrate's not changed out, and that seems to correlate with the lack of nutrients that the isopods have eaten and in many cases reprocessed a lot of the food and taken out a lot of the nutrients that would otherwise be available to the springtails. So Peachman, you are right. They don't produce poison in a captive situation like this. Mine are captive bred, so they never produced poison. But even a wild-caught dart frog will cease producing poison after a certain amount of time because it's not sequestering toxins from the food that it eats. So yeah, mine have never been poisonous, and because they're eating things like fruit flies and springtails and flower beetle larvae and stuff like that that don't have the toxins. So I'm probably missing some of the messages here. Let's see. Oh, so this guy, did you get something that was just labeled as magic potions but not as Armadillium vulgare? That does happen too. Initially, there was some confusion early on, and the first stock that I got was just Armadillium species magic potion was how it was labeled, which may have been deliberate obfuscation on the part of some seller at some point, and it may just have been confusion because people didn't know what they were. But yeah, that's part of the reason it's so important to keep records of what we get and where we get it from as much as we can. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take a look at this live sphagnum moss just for a second because people are saying how much they like it. I'm glad to hear that. I should just post a short on it or something at some point maybe. I really like it too. It's fun. It's fun to see. Fun to grow. It's fun to see it succeeding. Let's see. And thank you, Frank, for letting everybody know. I am not feeling that well, and I'm going to keep the stream short, so we've only got a few more minutes. And Dino Lisa. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. I'm glad you're getting Armadillium gestroy. Hard to beat that species. One of my very, very favorites. And they do get big. So Laura Taylor said, I should probably know this, but how old is this tank? Hey, frogs might get the... Oh. Maybe they're getting the vibes from me feeling sick and not feeling well. Hopefully they're okay. This is a good question. I'm having a hard time remembering. One thing I'm noticing I'm dealing with this particular ailment that I have is brain fog. So this tank's been going for quite a few years. I don't know how long, though. I mean, I've had these frogs for quite a long time. I think they're coming on about 10 years, this trio of frogs. But this tank has not been up that long. Maybe 6 years, I want to say? I'm not sure. I had them in a 20-gallon high for a while, and this is a 29-gallon. So I, increased the size of their tank a little bit. So let's see. Yeah, maybe the camera's bugging him. That's true. Gecko Man. Oh, Ruben Daly. That's really cool. I have had crabs before, a few different species of crab. Let's see. I guess no true crabs that I can think of right now, at least not long term. I had a few in a marine tank, just kind of adventive frogs that showed up. But I have had several types of hermit crab in marine aquaria, and I used to have the land hermit crabs. Haven't kept those in many years. But I used to have those too, and I really like crabs. I would love to do vampire crabs at some point. My wife's not super excited about that, though. So Minyasa, this tiny vine, is this the one you're talking about? This is Ficus quercifolia, oak leaf fig, string of frogs. Great plant if you can get a hold of it. And this guy, yeah. It's hard to beat Gestroy, but Armadillium vulgare magic potions are up there too. So aquatic moose will powder orange isopods eat viable gecko eggs from the substrate. I think there are a lot of variables there. Such as what's the population of the isopods, what else is available there for them to eat, and there's a lot of variables going in there, so I don't think there's an easy answer. And the difference between brittle eggs and flexible eggs may make a difference too, like Frank mentioned. So Peachman, I think that the Porcelia hoffmannsegii black are a little bit different in behavior. Yeah, I think so. I think they tolerate higher population densities in my experience. They seem to be a little less territorial maybe. They don't, yeah, I'm trying to think. They seem to have a stronger food drive too. So I have got to head out. It is time, and my mind is a bit fried. So thank you everyone for joining in. Sorry it's short, but appreciate you all chiming in and joining in, and I hope to see you next time, and I hope that I am feeling better next time. So thanks everybody, and catch you later.